Hey, how's it going? I'm not sure about you, but I think that the Earth is quite a special place in the universe. I think it's a vastly statistically unlikely thing to exist. In an infinite universe, of course, a planet like this is going to exist somewhere. I mean, in an infinite universe, technically an infinite amount of them will exist, but whatever, that's getting needlessly pedantic. The odds of any individual planet being like the Earth, having all the factors that the Earth has that allows life to exist here, personally, I think is vanishingly unlikely. I guess I'm kind of a rare Earth hypothesis kind of guy. Anyway, I thought I'd just make a video going over all the ways in which the Earth is obscenely rare. A fucking bonkers place to exist. I'd say it's insanely unlikely for us to even be here, but then again, where else would we be? Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so the Earth is rare. Aliens? What aliens? Alright, if you watch the History Channel, this is your cue to leave. Take your Anunnaki-worshipping ass and get the fuck out of here. Alright, I'll not have any anti-human propaganda in my comment section. Okay, now that the back of my hand is all warmed up, let's go to the first factor, which is the galaxy that we live in. It's a nice big spiral galaxy, which tend to contain a bunch of different generations of stars that produce heavy elements like carbon and oxygen. We also just happen to sit in a relatively safe region of the Milky Way. It's not too close to the galactic core, which has a lot of radiation and more supernovas and stuff, but too far out, there's statistically just fewer stars, so we're less likely to have a planet that just happens to have all the right factors. Broadly speaking, there is a galactic habitable zone, and we just happen to be right in the middle of it. Enough stars, not too much radiation, there's a decent amount of heavy elements. On top of this, the Earth does meander around a little bit, right? I mean, we're orbiting the center of mass of the entire galaxy, so over astronomical amounts of time, all the stars that are near us now will be swapped out for totally different stars. So for billions of years, we just happen to have avoided really dense star clusters and other stuff that would like perturb our solar system. We've just happened to have avoided all the gamma ray bursts and nearby supernovas and stuff, and this has allowed for billions of years of uninterrupted biological evolution on this planet. It's actually kind of insane how stable this place has managed to be, considering we are constantly falling around the center of a galaxy with hundreds of billions of other stars also doing the same thing. It's kind of insane how we've just been okay for billions of years. What are the fucking chances of essentially nothing bad happening? Or at least nothing bad enough that it sterilizes the entire planet permanently? Kind of crazy. I have also wondered as well whether the Milky Way being on the edge of a supercluster is important. I don't know, maybe our entire galaxy has just been unusually chill. Something else that's crazy important is our sun. The type of star that it is long-lived-ish, at least compared to supergiants and stuff, but it's also super duper chill. And even for the type of star that it is, it just happens to be super chill. Like, it seems to be unusually relaxed compared to even other types of the same star that we see in the universe. Its overall lifespan is going to be more than 10 billion years. We're about halfway through that lifespan now, although within only 1 billion years, the sun's probably not going to support photosynthesis anymore. So unless evolution figures out a way around that, I'm pretty sure all life's going to be fucked at that point anyway. So yeah, life's done a good job of showing up at the right time around the right star, which just so happens to not generate a shitload of solar flares or vary hugely in brightness and radiation. So again, we have gotten lucky as fuck. Then there's the architecture of our planetary system. Some people don't like me using the word architecture. I don't mean architecture as in God designed it, I just mean architecture in terms of how it's laid out. First off, and I think most importantly, we have a very unusually organized solar system. In a lot of the solar systems, at least that we've seen, you tend to get a lot of Jupiter-like planets really close into a star, but in ours, every single gas giant, of which we have 4, are way the fuck out in the outer solar system. And it seems like they sort of migrated outwards, like they might have actually formed close to the sun and then moved into the outer solar system and done so in a way that didn't fucking destroy the entire solar system when that happened, and then formed this gas giant gravitational barrier in the outer solar system that sucks up all the asteroids and comets and stuff that would have killed us otherwise. Okay, well, technically not all of them. I mean, it actually technically directs some of them towards us, but I think it does a lot more good than it does bad on average. On top of this, the planets have all ended up in nearly circular orbits, which again is super great for stability. Not only are there no gas giants nearby us, but there's not even any super Earths. Like, there's nothing anyway even near to gravitationally perturbing the Earth. And also, really far back in the solar system's past, there just so happened to have been a huge number of icy asteroids and comets that dumped an absolute shitload of water onto the Earth, which is the perfect medium for early life to develop inside of. If we didn't know this about the solar system, and you were inventing a fantasy solar system for like a book that you were writing, you'd say that this is outlandishly unlikely, because the odds of something like this existing, again, I mean, it's basically 100% if the universe is infinite, but like, fuck you know what I mean. As far as the physical properties of the Earth, first off, we're a solid planet. Holy shit, that's great. Have you ever tried living on clouds? Me neither. Fuck that shit. I mean, it might be possible, to be fair, but still, having a liquid medium for organic chemistry to happen inside of is, I'd be very surprised if that's not the fastest and most reliable way to make life happen. Sorry to interrupt, this is just a quick message to say, statistically speaking, you're probably not subscribed, so I'll make you a deal. Press the subscribe button and I won't come over to your house and do this. Alright, thanks. Back to the video. The mass of the Earth just happens to be pretty much perfect. Planets which are a great deal smaller risk losing their atmosphere, like what happened to Mars. If they're too big, though, you're more likely to end up with a crushingly dense atmosphere. I mean, Venus ended up with one of those, and it's not even bigger than we are. So once again, we're just rolling perfect sixes every f***ing time. We also have a magnetic field produced by having the right amount of mass and the right amount of planetary rotation and all that kind of shit. Without that, the Earth's atmosphere also risks getting stripped off. I mean, that might be an even bigger factor than the gravity is. Also, if you don't have a magnetosphere, you get a lot more radiation from the sun. I mean, the list doesn't even end there. We've got plate tectonics, we've got long-term climate stability, notwithstanding whatever the f*** it is humans are doing right now. We've got a huge surface ocean. This is basically a water planet with a few bits of land on it. And apart from being the place where life started in the first place, those huge oceans also help regulate the temperature of the planet, and still to this day contain most of the Earth's biomass. Then we've got the atmospheric composition. This one's especially wild because it's changed over time. Like, there wasn't molecular oxygen here to begin with. Early life forms produced oxygen as a byproduct, which then filled the atmosphere with it, and then later life adapted to use that oxygen which was there, which turned out to be actually even more useful than the stuff it was already using. So now we've got this cycle of some life forms producing CO2 and some producing oxygen, and now it just goes back and forth in this beautiful equilibrium. This shit is fucking crazy. We've also got the moon, which is super important, because if the Earth didn't have a big moon, that tilt that the Earth has wouldn't be constant. It would like fluctuate really quite dramatically. The back and forth of the Earth's axis changing so much would be enough to destabilize the climate, enough that it would be significantly harder for life to develop. Also, having a big moon gives us tidal systems, which mixes the oceans. It creates tidal pools. It probably really helped a lot in encouraging early land colonization by animals, which then evolved into us. There also seems to be a relatively specific geological history that's needed to have life as complex as ours emerge over time, because I've been making a big thing of stability. You do actually need some mass extinctions and pressures in order to force the life forms on the planet to adapt and therefore evolve, and statistically that just makes it more likely for complicated behaviors like eventually intelligence to emerge over time. So the reality is that actually the Earth hasn't been perfectly stable. We have had mass extinctions, but we seem to have had them in such a way that they kill off a lot of, but not all of the life on the planet, and they basically create negative space for new life forms to emerge and take over the planet again in ways which are different to the previous several hundred million years or however long the previous period was. Honestly, I'm not sure how much of a knife edge this is, but just intuitively to me, it seems relatively unlikely that you'd get quite a lot of mass extinctions caused by cataclysmic events which decimate life on the planet but doesn't permanently destroy it. Not sure what the statistics are on it, but to me it just intuitively seems statistically unlikely to go well. But hey, we made it. Crazy. I love the Earth. The Earth's fucking great. This planet fucking slaps. I mean, there's also a bunch of weird evolutionary factors that seem really unlikely that just happen to have occurred. Abiogenesis in the first place is essentially unexplained. I don't know if unexplained is quite the right word. Unspecified, maybe? I mean, it's basically a bunch of organic chemicals that came together in a certain way that allowed themselves to reproduce themselves, but exactly how that happened? It had to happen somewhere, right? Not only that, but eukaryotic cells somehow evolved. It could have been because one cell literally tried to eat another one, and instead of being dissolved, the smaller one became an organ of the bigger one, and they started this weird symbiotic relationship that led to the cells that we have with the mitochondria inside of it that gives it the amount of energy needed for complex creatures like us to even be vaguely possible. That's fucking nuts. Somehow evolution just invented sexual reproduction. It was just like, oh yeah, you guys, instead of all being the same, that we're gonna have two variants in the character creator, and you're gonna need each other to make more of yourselves, and in doing so you're gonna have to scramble your DNA together, and that's gonna force you to evolve. That's fucking crazy. How the fuck did that happen? And on top of all of that, there is no guarantee that complex life is, one, gonna exist, but two, more importantly, that it's ever gonna achieve intelligence. Humans became intelligent because we went from living in a place with lots of trees to suddenly the trees weren't there anymore, and we sucked at everything else, so we needed to be smart enough to know how to hunt stuff sophisticatedly. So the ones of us who survived were the ones who were better at being slightly more sophisticated with how we hunt stuff. That mixed with the fact that we had thumbs that could grab things, and we needed to be really good at long distance travel, that meant that we were better standing up on two legs, so we just had both of our hands free to hold shit with. Like, that's not guaranteed at all. That just happened to have occurred here. It's kind of hard to say if you had 1 million copies of the planet Earth and you just started off life a little differently on each of them, how many of those would have eventually developed intelligence? Like, it's really hard to say. It might be like 50% of them for all we know, but it also could be literally 1 out of the million of them. We have no fucking clue whatsoever. But it seems like it's pretty rare. There are other species on the planet which are intelligent adjacent. Like, the other great ape species are generally speaking pretty intelligent. There's dolphins, there's octopi. If we gave them another few 100 million years, I could see them working something out. Dolphins are really intelligent, kind of rapey, but then again, so are we. We shouldn't really be pointing fingers. In fact, we can point fingers because they don't have fingers. That seems to be their problem. They have all this intelligence, then they're just trapped in a giant slippery torso with flippers on it. Anyway, what I'm saying is that humans are in a very special position. As far as we're aware, there are no other animals in the universe that are in the position that we're in right now. Being intelligent enough to know how intelligent we are and how probably alone we are, but also early enough in the development of our species, not just technologically, but like morally and philosophically, that we're potentially stupid enough to actually destroy the entire species. I'm not necessarily super optimistic that if we nuke and disease and climate catastrophe ourselves into extinction, that something else is going to evolve to take our place afterwards. It's not impossible, but it would have to get on with it pretty quickly. Thanks as always to my elite level supporters. Thunderbolt 22A10, who can juice an orange from 13 yards away. Nomad Greg, who lives on a diet of nuclear pasta. Andrew Mole, who crash landed on an orphanage. John Bejarano, who resides inside an evil volcano layer. JDK, who's got more feet than he has legs. Mutantious Doom, who's got laser vision. Stormester Ritter, who evolved from a praying mantis. Nikita Lurie, who's powered by nebula gas. Aaron Rowe, who has a wide selection of cheeses. Bonk Chunk, who's a certified professional in attaching a car battery to someone's nipples. That one boy who can spin his head around 360. Trenton Coldwell, who can power grow a beard just by clenching really hard. And thanks to all my other supporters too. Don't forget to join the Patreon or the channel membership if you want to be featured in my video credits or chat on Discord. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Over and out.